Hello, today is April 17th, 2025. Today I'm going to be going over my Senate election predictions for next year. A lot has happened in the last couple of months. I've not uploaded a video in a little bit, but I think enough has happened and we're in kind of a standstill area. Unless something major happens in the next couple of days, which would be surprising, that I am able to make predictions again. I've also been really busy with college, but that's over in a month, and I'm kind of like all A's right now, so I feel comfortable taking the time to make this video. If you're new to this channel, in 2020, I got all 50 states right for the presidential election, got all the governor seats right in 2021, 2023, and 2024. In 2022, I only got two wrong. For the Senate, I've only gotten two Senate seats wrong in the last 4 years. So I think that I'm qualified to make pretty good predictions on my past. If you look at any other predictor, I've done better than all of them. That's just a straight up fact. In 2024, I made some errors with how I was kind of gathering data and how much I was actually factoring that into my opinions. I'm going to make a video off of how much I'm going to change that in the future. If you saw, I kind of blacklisted some polls that were really good in 2024. So I'm just going to show how I'm adjusting to actually improve my predictions, which are already really good. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to start out, if you're new to this video, I kind of start out all my videos like, this is how good I have been in the past. This is how, this is what I'm doing in the future. And sit here and watch this with me because I think these are really fun to make. And I like debating these in the comments. If you want to leave a comment, we're really close to 2,000 subscribers on my main channel. If you're on my other channel, I plan on making that one my main one eventually. So it'd be nice if people got to that as well and subscribe to that one. So thanks for watching. We're going to get into this. If you see the color on Minnesota right now, that would mean 15 points or more for the Democrat. This would mean 7 points to 14.9 points, which would be likely. This would be lean, which is 2 to 6.9%, and tilt would be under 2%. So I make classifications on margins, not the actual word I'm classifying them as. So obviously Florida is going to be a safe Republican state for the Republicans in 2026, but I am categorizing it as a likely state because of the margin I expect them to win by, which is around 12 to 14 points, which is under the safe margin of 15. The other safe states for Republicans include Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. There's a couple states here like Nebraska, Kansas, Alaska, South Carolina. I'll get to all of them at one point pretty soon. For Democrats, I'm giving them Illinois, Colorado, Oregon, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Delaware as their safe states as well. So that means Republicans only need 6 of these, and obviously they're getting 6 of these. So this kind of goes into what I've said in my last videos that I've been making, is that Republicans are winning the Senate no matter what. I will go over the scenarios on how Democrats can theoretically win the Senate. There's only one scenario where it makes sense on paper, but if we're going off of realistic expectations, even with Trump taking the economy, illegally deporting citizens, all that stuff happening, it doesn't matter. He's only at -4 approval. People are not as disgruntled as Democrats would think they should be, and Democrats, even after like 2 years of getting completely destroyed in registration numbers, like I don't know if I mentioned this, I think I did, in registration numbers, they're only just now matching Republicans in registration numbers. So they need to either increase their registration numbers, do better than Republicans, massively win the independent vote, and get really good turnout in 2026, which they should, or at least do two. As long as they do 2 of those, they should have a pretty decent midterms, and they're not going to win the Senate, but they should still win the House in 2026, which is really important if they want to keep Donald Trump in, let's say, theoretical check, because he can kind of basically do whatever he wants as of right now. And obviously, like he said, he's already said that he will do whatever he wants, and he's ignoring judges. Again, I kind of don't want to sit here and complain for him of this video. I'm kind of just spouting out the top of my head what's going on. But obviously, yeah, he's broken judge agreement. He's broken the Constitution twice in the last week. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. If you voted for him, Most people that voted for him know he's pretty bad, but they voted for him because they believed in better prices from tariffs, which, again, everyone knew was a lie, except for if you voted for him. So I don't know how to say that. But yeah, actually, just today alone, mortgage rates, 20-year mortgage rates, had the biggest spike in any days in like 5 years. So yeah, that's not very good. But for likely states, which again would mean 7 to 14.9, I expect Democrats to win Minnesota by a likely margin. I expect them to win New Hampshire by a likely margin until Sununu would announce his run. Because if he does announce his run, I would say lean Sununu, which is a really big shift, but I would still say that. I would say New Jersey should be a likely state. Virginia, New Mexico should also be likely states. But then that kind of reaches the safe to likely states that Democrats can kind of count on. They need to win 5 more here to even remotely have a chance at stopping anything Donald Trump wants to do, besides the House, obviously. But getting things to not pass the Senate which would mean they don't even need to win the House. Again, like I said, not happening, but that's really important. In Ohio, I forgot who was appointed here, but that person is running for their election in 2026, and probably against Sherrod Brown, who's discussed running as a senator here. I think that Sherrod Brown's going to lose here by between 5 and 8 points, probably like 8. He doesn't really have a chance in Ohio, despite what political shifts might happen. South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, despite the fact that Donald Trump has just endorsed him for his reelection in 2026, South Carolina has still always been under 20 points Republican. No matter, it's kind of one of the states that doesn't have any shifts in the last 20 years. It's kind of been the exact same. So I think South Carolina is a really interesting state, and I think, and I'm curious if what happens when Democrats finally win North Carolina and Georgia and secure those states, which again, despite the shifts we saw in 2024, and I'll get into why this should happen, but it should happen. And actually, I'll explain that now. So if you're a Democrat, you might be kind of terrified by the 18 to 20-year-olds kind of skewing to vote red. The Gen Z that voted in 2022 was very different than the Gen Z that voted in 2024 because there was so many more Republican voters, and that's kind of entirely split. I believe Republicans win 18 to 20-year-olds by around 15 points. Don't quote me on that. I know it's at least double digits, and that's kind of a concern. But again, you have to kind of look at it as, okay, you're Democrat, probably shouldn't panic. Registration numbers are finally getting a little bit better for Democrats, and if you look at why the 18 to 20-year-olds are like that, it's because they didn't really learn. Like, they were still in like middle school during Trump's first term. So you'd go, I mean, I was in middle school during Trump's first term, so I probably shouldn't say that because I'm not on. Well, actually, yeah, I am. I'm 18 to 20. I'm 18 years old. I just voted in my first election. So yeah, I'm very aware that the people that are a couple years younger than me are probably going to vote more Democrat. And again, I say this because post-COVID and pre-COVID graduators. Pre-COVID graduators are people who are 1 to 2 years older than me and who voted in 2022. Those voters voted more Democrat in 2022. But if you look at the new voters, the 18 to 20-year-olds who voted in 2024, people who voted after COVID, who experienced most of their political angst during the Biden administration, you'd expect them to vote more red. And again, this should not be a surprise, should not be a panic button for Democrats. Just make sure they get out there and register their voters. Do your job, because that's something that's always happened. And I don't know if it's been happening at this level, and especially they're dealing with Hispanics kind of drawing away from their party, but it's getting to the point where that's kind of getting maxed out, that Hispanic shift. So Democrats within 2 to 4 years should probably be back to being more competitive. They are at a really low favorability rate in general as a party, but if you look at their most favorable politicians who are thinking about running, that's what Democrats are kind of trying to focus on more, is being more favorable. And I think that's kind of really important. I think the DNC head chair kind of changed, and they kind of direct they don't directly choose who wins primaries, but they will choose who they want to fund more, and they will basically pick whoever they want. They wanted Hillary in 2016. They got Hillary, and guess what happened? If Bernie was the presidential candidate in 2016, he would have won. And that's kind of another discussion that's being had right now. Is Bernie the most favorable politician in all of politics right now? That is a fact. I know if you're Republican, you hate him. That doesn't sound right, but technically, It is. He's the most favorite, at least out of Democrats. He is. People want him in AOC more than anyone right now. I don't know if it's the relevance from the tour that they've been taking, but yeah. So I think if Democrats focus more on just being a little bit more favorable to the younger voters, while while Republicans are maxing out support in these smaller counties, Democrats can really start to win the younger vote again, and I think that's kind of always been their strategy. So when people realize that Trump is crashing the stock market, which has already started, he's already going down, and he already has a negative approval. It's not as bad as Biden's, but it is already negative. So again, I kind of just yapped for a little bit, but I hope some people understood what I was saying. Democrats don't need to press the panic button just yet. Just go out and get your registrations. For Republicans, I'm giving the Nebraska, Kansas, Texas all as likely. Texas kind of had like a 15-year loss of progress for Democrats. I don't expect that actually to stay. I expect whoever, I believe it's Cornyn, who's running for re-election here, I expect him to win by like 8 or 9 points. That would still be an improvement on 2024. And I think, again, if you're a Democrat, don't give up on Texas. If you really just go out and get big registration numbers and you're getting these younger voters, and South Texas has already maxed out Hispanic support, kind of, then Democrats can really only go up in Texas. I don't know when that up is going to happen, if it's going to be 2026, if it's going to be 2030. But there's going to be a point where Democrat shifts in certain states get too much to bear for Republicans. And again, you could say the same in Michigan for Republicans outbearing Democrats, and that is true. So I'm going to give all those states likely. Osborne's thinking about running in Nebraska again, and I think he would do way better than he did in 2024, especially if Democrats are really heavily unfavored right now in America. You're going to see more independents running in these states, and Osborne's not by any means a Democrat or left-leaning. He's probably a moderately right-leaning independent. So I would say that Democrats could probably make deals with this guy who's promised not to caucus with anyone if he wins, at least in the last election. I think that the only scenario Democrats even win the Senate, possibly in 2029, is flipping Maine, North Carolina, and Georgia, which I have them doing, and holding on to everything else that they need to hold on to. There is a scenario where they go 50 to 49 and no one. So they would have to just deal with Osborne, which is better than dealing with probably Manchin, but worse than dealing with Sinema. I think it would kind of place Osborne in between those two. I've looked a lot as political beliefs. It's not a nightmare for Democrats. They can deal with Osborne on actual issues from the middle down. So yeah, for Democrats, I'm giving them lean in Michigan. Buttigieg is no longer running here, but the person who is leading in Michigan's primaries, I forgot his name, I apologize, but he is up by a couple points. Again, doesn't matter, a whole year and a half to go, but I kind of expect, like usual, Republicans always do better in Michigan early on, and I don't know why, I'm just realizing this now as I'm talking, but they've always we're gonna nominate this guy. He's up like 5 points in the Senate race, and by the time the Senate race happens, they lose by like 3 or 4 points. Or the governor race where Whitmer was supposedly going to lose in 2022, and then in the last couple of months, she started going up by like double digits in the polls. Whitmer did very good in 2022. So again, this is what I say. Like even if Democrats are up a couple points now in Michigan, they should probably be winning Michigan in 2026. I wouldn't really be that worried about Michigan. And if you do lose Michigan, then really you didn't have a chance in the first place. It's kind of how it is right now. Maine, this is a Susan Collins flip to the Democrats. I think Susan Collins kind of confirming those cabinet members is going to be really, it's going to shoot her in the back, really. It's really going to hit her bad in her campaign. She's not going to win by as much as she did in 2020. She was supposed to lose in 2020, I believe, and then she won by a very respectable amount. So I'd say that don't trust the polls fully in Maine. I don't know who's running here in Maine in 2026, but let's just say it's Johnson or whatever. I don't know who Johnson is. I'm just using it as a hypothetical. Say Johnson's up by 3 or 4 here on election day. I think there's a very good chance Susan Collins still wins. I don't know what I would say for that, but the polls were really bad in 2020 for the Senate. So yeah, something to look at. Maine's probably the most likely to flip in 2026. Okay, now we're looking at these two states which previous popular governors are thinking about running. One for the Republicans in Georgia, one for the Democrats in North Carolina. I have Democrats winning by 3 or 4 in North Carolina under the condition that it is Roy Cooper against Tom Tillis. If it is Roy Cooper against Laura Trump, that's more of a 50-50. I believe that's the person who's thinking about running in North Carolina for the Republicans. And if it's a different Democrat versus Laura Trump, I'm sorry if it's a wrong Trump, but if it is, then I would have Republicans still winning here. But if it's a generic popular Democrat versus Tom Tillis, I'd have them still winning. But as of right now, it's one of the most popular Democratic governors of the past 10 years versus someone who's going to be associated with either Donald Trump or one of the more unpopular senators, which is Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis was supposed to lose in 2020, but that one guy had a scandal and he barely lost still. So I still think that Democrats shouldn't really be panicked in North Carolina. This is one of the states where independent numbers are getting really high. So all Democrats need to do is do a couple points better with independents than in 2024. And they really shouldn't have that much difficulty. And I know this is one of the closest states. So when I say not much difficulty, I mean if you have Roy Cooper, he's going to win. Roy Cooper's going to win this race against Tom Tillis, if that's the case. I don't really have a doubt in my mind. And like I said, last year, you would probably be listening to me talk about North Carolina, and I would be like, I have no idea what's going to happen here. No idea. I think Harris could win, or I think she could lose here. Or when you talk about the governor race, I didn't even know who was going to win there until Mark Robinson, what happened with that. So North Carolina was really interesting for me. It was actually probably the most interesting swing state of 2024 until the result actually came out, which is exactly what you'd expect, which was a blowout governor race and a narrow Trump win. Which something I thought was interesting was that narrow Trump win, given that he flipped Arizona and won it by 5 points and barely won North Carolina by a couple. I think Democrats should be pretty happy about the North Carolina performance and kind of go off of it. They only need to do like 2 or 3 points better than in 2024, and they're already performing way better than that. And North Carolina polls were relatively accurate. Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning. So, and especially in the midterms, the polls were really accurate in 2022. So again, I'm kind of going to make a video on how I'm going to assess that, but that's something to keep an eye out on. And then Jon Ossoff in Georgia. I think Jon Ossoff is going to hold here unless Brian Kemp runs. If you told me right now it was going to be Jon Ossoff versus Brian Kemp, I would say Brian Kemp wins here by 0.5%. Democrats really didn't have a nightmare scenario here in Georgia. They still improved on their margin in half of the Atlanta counties, and the Republicans continued to max out their support in these smaller counties where they grew most of the numbers from. In northern Georgia, I guess, above Atlanta, where Marjorie Taylor is, I guess. They kind of got a lot of numbers from these smaller counties. But when you see Atlanta didn't shift that much, and you see how much it usually shifts, you could expect a massive shift if it's a normal Republican in 2026. If it's a blue wave year, quote unquote blue wave, because obviously Democrats don't win the Senate here, but yeah. So now you're seeing 49-50. I think Peltola is going to run for Senate here, but she's also debating about running for governor. And if she runs for governor, she probably will win governor, actually. And if she runs for Senate, I still have her fairly losing. But it's definitely something in play for Democrats. But even if they do get that, you still need a seat here. So the best case scenario for Democrats, in my opinion, and the only realistic case scenario, would be Peltola runs here and narrowly wins, and Osborne narrowly wins his race here. And that would technically be a Democratic win here, but that independent would go with Republicans probably, I would estimate, 65% of the time. So it's not really a Democratic control here. It would just be something they would be really hoping for. So I already did take this video, which is way better and more concise. So I'm sorry if I was yapping a little bit here. I'm just trying to get this video out. I haven't made one in a while. Thanks for watching. This is my prediction as of right now. I'll make a video soon, hopefully soon, on the governor or presidential prediction. I might do a video on the new primary polls, which show AOC and Buttigieg closing in on Harris's massive lead that she had a month ago, and now AOC's only down a couple points. That would be a really interesting race, an AOC versus Vance one. That would be really interesting to see. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens the next month or two. We'll see if Trump actually brings back tariffs, if he's actually going to be making these deals that he says he's going to, which I thought the whole point of the tariffs, which was to pay off income tax and lower prices. And now he's like acknowledging that it's raising prices. So yeah, again, like I said, I'm not really surprised by the disaster that's been happening and all this that's been going on. But yeah, feel free to debate me in the comments respectably. I don't really care for the ridiculous amount of hate in the comments. I haven't really been that biased in this video compared to usual. I'm kind of just like assessing what's happened and the realistic scenario and what's shifted in actual data and how I'm going to change to make it better. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys hopefully sometime in the next week. Goodbye.